This Tuesday Newsday is brought to you by Glide. Visit dtoid.tv/glide or stay tuned after the show for more information.
Hey everybody, what's up? Max Scoville here for Destructoid.com, and welcome to Tuesday Newsday, which is the day of the week where we do the news, because it's Tuesday, rhymes with news, day, Newsday, Tuesday, we talk about the news. That's what we do here. Let's do it right now. The big news from today is not strictly video game related, though I think it's a grave injustice to not say that it's at least somehow tangentially related. The cast for the new Star Wars movie has been announced. Star Wars Episode VII. We get word of this by way of the fine folks at the Star Wars Disney J.J. Abrams Corporation, and they've passed this on to us. Here's who's returning. Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Peter Mayhew, that's Chewbacca, Kenny Baker, that's R2-D2, and Anthony Daniels, that's C-3PO. So all these familiar old faces who are all very old now. I mean, they're familiar, but maybe they're not so familiar because they're all so old. Well, the good news is, if you're unfamiliar, the new Star Wars movie is set 30 years after Return of the Jedi, which came out let's see, about 30 years ago. That came out in 1983. The new Star Wars movie will be coming out 2015, so 32 years, not too bad there. As for the new cast members, this is the fun part. Andy Serkis, aka Gollum, or Captain Haddock, he's going to be in the movie. We don't know who he's playing. We don't know who anyone's playing. They're all new characters, presumably. Is he going to be mo-capped? That's the real question. Is that man going to be in a ping pong ball suit, prancing around, acting like one of the apes from the Planet of the Apes? We don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. Max von Sydow, the prolific, evil old German man. Is he going to be evil? We don't know. Let's see. He's been the Exorcist. He's been the actual Exorcist himself. He was in Minority Report. He was in the 1995 Judge Dredd. He was in the recent Robin Hood that Ridley Scott did that I still haven't seen yet. Also in Robin Hood was Oscar Isaac, who's going to be in the new Star Wars. He played Standard in Drive. That was the guy who Ryan Gosling was helping out with all his money woes. He was also in Inside Llewellyn Davis, the most recent Coen Brothers movie. Also in that was Adam Driver, who played the titular character, Llewellyn Davis. He also played the boyfriend on the first season of the HBO show Girls. Speaking of Judge Dredd, I'm assuming you all saw the new one where it's just lots of shooting. It's basically The Raid, but with more CG and weird fun stuff. Remember the hacker who had the weird shit in his eyes? Well, that guy is a guy named Domhnall Gleeson, and he's going to be in the new Star Wars movie. He also played Bill Weasley in the Harry Potter movies, and he's in a movie called Ex Machina, also with Oscar Isaac, which is being written by the guy who directed Dredd, and it's a new movie that he's doing. He also did 28 Days Later. John Boyega's in Star Wars Episode VII. He was in Attack the Block. He's also in the new 24 series. Hasn't done a lot of other stuff other than that. And then there's Daisy Ridley, who's been in a handful of TV shows, but no one knows a whole lot about her. That's the new cast for Star Wars Episode VII. Excuse me if I rambled on a little bit. I'm actually really excited about this. I'm really excited about the fact that these aren't a bunch of Americans and Canadians with really familiar accents. This is something I love about the original Star Wars trilogies. You had all these like classical trained actors. You know, you have Sir Alec Guinness, and you've got what's his face, Grand Moff Tarkin, and these guys who are just all very, very theatrical. And you get Hayden Christensen in there, and he's all nasal and wow, Padme, what am I doing? And it's just. It's nice to have some different voices in there. Oh, and hey, not all these people are white, so hey, thumbs up, that's cool. Now, speaking of Star Wars, on a more video game related note, a big announcement was broken by the folks at Lucasfilm. Everything that isn't one of the Star Wars trilogy movies or one of the recent TV series is no longer canon. What does this mean? It means that all of those, like, 107 different novels that were put out, along with all the comics, and every single video game is now no longer official canon Star Wars. So basically, if you're looking for something that is officially Star Wars, that means you go watch Episode 1 through 6, or you watch Star Wars The Clone Wars, or presumably the upcoming show Star Wars Rebels. That is the only official new canon Star Wars. So as for the Ion canon, from Star Wars Episode VI, The Empire Strikes Back, that is still a canon. Okay, sorry, I know that everyone comes here for the games news, but sometimes I have to talk about Star Wars because it's important. It was one of the first video games, Star Wars. It's not true, sorry. Now, on to the really important video game stuff. Nintendo has announced they will not be doing an E3 press conference, kind of like they did last year. Instead of that, they're going to be doing the new Nintendo digital event, which is going to be happening online, kind of like a Nintendo Direct. That's going to be happening 9 a.m. Pacific on Tuesday, June 10th. So during E3, they could have done it the week before, the week after, but instead they're doing it right in the middle of everything, because fucking A, I want to get up at 9 a.m. when I'm at a trade show. That's a great idea, Nintendo. On top of that, they're also going to be doing a Super Smash Bros. Invitational tournament at the Nokia Theater in downtown LA, which is basically next door to the convention center. yeah, this is kind of cool. On top of that, if you're not near the LA Convention Center, well, good news because they're going to be having little Smash Brothers tournaments at Best Buys. So if you want to get your hands on the new Super Smash Brothers game, you get to do that. They're doing this whole thing where they're trying to reinvent the way that, events like E3 are handled and get the game into the hands of players, which, you got to respect them for that. You got to respect them even more for this kick-ass Mega 64 video that they did to help announce this, where Rocco possesses the body of Reggie Fils-Aimé, and well done, guys. I'm actually really amazed that Nintendo let them do this, but go watch that video if you've got a few minutes to kill. Now, speaking of E3, we don't know a lot of the games that are coming out later this year, so presumably a whole lot of them are going to be getting announced at E3. One that might be safe to bet some money on is Just Cause 3, which is a game that people have been chomping at the bit for quite some time. Well, good news that Square Enix just registered a trademark for Just Cause 3. And they bought a domain. It's justcause3game.com. I don't think there's anything there that I guess I'll check. Just cause3 thegame.com. It's not loading. Anyway, yeah, Avalanche Studios. I know people really want that. They made that crazy multiplayer mod for Just Cause 2, or as my friend likes to call it, Just Cuz. But yeah, people are stoked about that. What they have in the meantime to look forward to is the upcoming Mad Max game, the one that's sort of tied in with the new Mad Max movie, presumably. That's being pushed back to 2015, but we do have a new trailer that makes me really not want to play this game because it is, I shit you not, it's a West Coast Customs ad for the guys who modify cars, and the whole trailer just looks like a Twisted Metal game. I mean, that's cool. I'm down with driving cars into shit and making them blow up and stuff, but have you seen the Mad Max movies? Because they're really fun and weird and kind of quirky, and this is just kind of like, your kind of typical like glue spikes on shit and drive it into other shit, kind of bro-y aggro desert garbage shit. Speaking of desert garbage shit, you might have missed it, but this weekend Microsoft decided that a good use of everyone's time and money was to go out in the New Mexico landfill where all of those old copies of the Atari 2600 ET game were buried. And they actually excavated a whole bunch of ET games, which were buried in the desert. If you're unfamiliar with the story, that game was so bad that they actually took it off store shelves and buried it in the desert. They produced more copies of that game than were Atari 2600 systems in people's homes. They thought that people were going to be so excited about E.T. the movie that they'd go out and buy an entire console just to play this one shitty game. And people blame that actual game for the crash of the video game industry back in the 80s. But yeah, Microsoft is making a documentary about that, which is going to be directed by Zach Penn, who is one of the many people associated with writing X-Men 2 and the Watchmen movies. So if you want to see what it's like to have a superhero movie scribe direct a documentary about digging up video games in the desert, Microsoft has your back. Watching a documentary about garbage being dug up in the desert doesn't sound like a lot of fun to you. Well, good news, because Microsoft has some other stuff in the works, namely a whole bunch of live-action content based on their popular properties, franchises, whatever. Apparently they've got live-action content in the works for Halo, State of Decay, Gears of War, Forza, Fable, and Age of Empires. We knew about Halo. What I don't know if we knew about was the fact that Steven Spielberg and Ridley Scott are both attached to be doing video feature series, movie type shit involved with it. That's pretty exciting. Those guys are both very excellent filmmakers, so good on them for the truckload of money that Microsoft probably drove up to their respective houses. As for other stuff, State of Decay could be cool. I mean, it could be a zombie type of thing. Gears of War, that's a no-brainer. It's just a bunch of dudes with really huge necks and do-rags shouting at each other in a broken garden statuary department. Forza, that's a weird one. I think you would just have like Top Gear or racing, but maybe they'll turn it to like a Fast and the Furious type of thing. Fable, that could be lovely fantasy nonsense, and Age of Empires would be some good old historical fiction. So if you don't like playing those sorts of games, good news, because Microsoft is making them into TV movie show content videos for you to watch. Wolfenstein: The New Order is a game that I have played, and I've looked at pictures of, and I've watched trailers of, and I still haven't really gotten much of a tickle for really giving a whole lot of a shit until now, when they put out this new trailer that actually shows off some interesting stuff you can do in the game. It's one of those trailers where they're like, you can do this real quiet, or you can do this real loud. They do the whole stealth versus mayhem approach. And what I love here is that they've put in some just delightful 60s German pop music, which is really, really unsettling amidst a bunch of, throat slittings and, headshots and general Nazi murder, which is okay because it's the Nazis, but still, very cheerful, kind of upbeat, almost Tarantino-esque approach here. And yeah, you can stealth around in Wolfenstein, which I wasn't really aware of because they've been pitching it as nothing more than a totally brainless first-person shooter where you shoot the Nazis in the face. Of course, you can also play it that way, and they demonstrate that in a slightly more upbeat, 60s German, punk pop, music thing with shooting the Nazis. More importantly than that, if you hate Nazis, that's understandable. If you hate watermelons, there aren't a whole lot of games out there. There's Metal Gear Solid 2, there's Metal Gear Rising, and I guess there's Fruit Ninja. Those are the games where you can blow up watermelons. Well, add Wolfenstein the New Order to that list, because you can take out some watermelons, according to this trailer. Or as they're known in Deutschland, Wassermelon? More on the topic of PC shooter franchises from the mid-90s, well, here's a fun thing. Interceptor Entertainment, the guys who bought the rights to Duke Nukem, have been posting a bunch of old assets from 3D Realms, like old kind of from the vaults type of shit, which is actually really cool to see. It was kind of work-in-progress stuff from Duke Nukem 3D, unused logos, really, really gross art from Shadow Warrior. So if you're into that kind of thing, check it out. There's a link below. That's a handful of the news that you had to learn about today on Tuesday. If you'd like to learn more about the news, you can head to Destructoid.com, where the news is going up constantly all the time. That Duke Nukem story went up at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. I don't know how I didn't see that. Probably because I was sleeping like an old man. If you'd like to follow up with me on Twitter, I'm Max Scoville on there. And if you'd like to ask stupid questions or make fun of my dumb hair in the comments, you can also do that. I will see you guys later when I do other videos here. Goodbye.
Fed up with the hassle of selling your games online? Well, stop doing it that way then. Introducing Glide, the easiest way to transform those smelly old games you don't want anymore into hot, sexy piles of cash. After creating a free account, just click Sell on the Glide website, find your item, describe its condition, and name your price. That's all it takes to list it. No description writing or picture taking necessary. Yeah. Once your item sells, Glide will send you a shipping kit with everything you need to get your old game to its new owner. Everything's pre-addressed, prepaid, insured, and tracked the whole way, so all you have to do is put it in the mail. Once your buyer receives the shipment, payment will be deposited into your Glide account. Use the cash to shop on Glide, have it transferred to your bank account, get a check mailed to you, or even be paid in Bitcoin. Even if you're not looking to sell, Glide's got a great selection of pre-owned games, phones, tablets, and iPods for stupidly reasonable prices. To sign up today, head to dtoid.tv/glide. It's a great service, and every sign-up helps support Destructoid.